Joylyn Bukovac has been digging into the story all day and joins us live in the studio now. Joylyn.
The details are simply stomach-turning. The 43-year-old woman was held hostage for hours, tortured and beaten. It's advised to keep your doors locked to keep them out. Worth Park and Oakland City Golf Course took a big hit. People inside the club tell me that the storm came out of nowhere. We're working to get a better understanding of what led up to this fatal shooting. And that's when we tracked her down to get her side of the story.
No comment, go away.
Now authorities are looking for answers as employees try to make sense of what happened. If you have a need for speed.
If you remember the Steve McQueen movies, that's what it's dedicated to.
The powerful Mustang Bullet will do the trick. One of these highly sought-after cars had been sitting at the Town Country Ford car dealership, but when someone from the cleaning company showed up Wednesday morning, she made a jaw-dropping discovery, causing her to call for backup right away.
Our two large showroom doors that we drive cars in and out had been broken, and glass was everywhere. And they had forced their way into the building, and they had stolen a Mustang Bullet that we had on the showroom floor.
There's a chance the alleged car thief was no stranger of this car dealership, since he'd locate the key that was kept with hundreds of others before starting it up and driving through the showroom.
I went into an office, retrieved some keys from some of the cars that are there on the lot. It would appear that that particular vehicle was targeted since it was inside the showroom. They retrieved the key for that vehicle and then actually used that vehicle to push its way out through the glass doors.
Authorities didn't have to search long to find the missing car.
And within 2 hours, Evansville Finance already had recovered the car.
It had been abandoned in this apartment complex parking lot, a joyride that may end in jail time.
And what we really didn't make sense to us was if they come during the hours that were open, test drives are free and you don't have jail time.
The consequences involved in being charged with auto theft in Indiana is 3 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. Joylyn Bukovac, 44 News. Warren 11-year-old Trayshawn is still in a lot of pain, but the doctors told his family he's just lucky to be alive. What started out as a normal afternoon turned into a nightmare that one Tri-State family will never forget.
I can't explain the horror that is in my heart and that I still feel.
11-year-old Trayshawn was testing out a brand new mini dirt bike.
I had told the one that got hurt to stay on the sidewalk and do the handle.
As Trayshawn was testing his brakes, his little brother fell and needed his grandmother's help.
So I stepped in the foyer to grab a Kleenex, and I just heard this bam.
That's when the 11-year-old darted into the street on his dirt bike, colliding with an oncoming car.
And I immediately turned around and I stepped outside, and he was just laying in the street, really just. There was a lot of blood.
Mary Henderson is just glad her precious grandchild will live to see another day.
And it's only by the grace of God that he's all right. All he got was a fractured face around his eye right here. It's very painful, and that was from being flipped over the car and hitting the back.
Trayshawn was not wearing his helmet, so he suffered a pretty serious concussion.
We had just had the discussion about how he could not ride the mini bike till we got a DOT certified helmet, and how he could not be in the street with it because it was not legal.
Henderson just wants parents to keep a close eye on their children while they are playing.
I am living proof that only takes a split second. You can turn your back and something extremely bad can happen.
Officials say setting rules and boundaries can go a long way.
They need to get back in the habit of making sure that there are no cars if they're out by the roadway, if they're going to cross the street, that they're looking both ways before they go, that they need to be in an intersection, not just in the middle of the block.
A lot of kids just aren't told those things. Again, people take it for granted that a child knows that they're supposed to be on the sidewalk, or when they're playing basketball, if a car's coming, they need to get off the street and let the car pass.
If your child does disobey you, it may be worth discussing the potential consequences. When Trayshawn asked his grandmother what his punishment was going to be, she told him he's suffered enough. The community is rooting for his quick recovery. Joylyn Bukovac, 44 News. He thought this child was going to run him over. This was after the 8-year-old put the pedal to the metal.
It's just when you think you've seen it all, you know, you show up on a call like this.
What started out as a rare 911 call.
The call came in originally as an 8-year-old that had taken a knife out of the kitchen and was threatening his babysitter with the knife.
8-year-old with a knife. I can't imagine.
This 911 call took an even more rare twist.
The babysitter advised us that the child was now taking her car keys and actually got in the vehicle and started the vehicle up and managed to get it into drive.
The 8-year-old child managed to drive down McBride Lane before getting stuck in the mud.
When I came around to the vehicle and just saw this little person in there that could barely see over the dashboard, that was a shock to me to begin with.
But what happens next may leave you flabbergasted.
He had the accelerator pinned to the floorboards. The tires were spinning mud all around, and the vehicle was beginning to rock. And at that point I thought, he may actually get it and drive and run me over.
That did not stop Deputy Charles Fisella from trying to open the car door, but it was locked, and he was at the mercy of an infuriated 8-year-old.
He refused to open the door and actually cussed at me and told me to go blank myself and gave me the middle finger.
This exchange made Deputy Fisella's jaw drop, but he was able to convince the 8-year-old to get out of the driver's seat.
Finally, when I threatened to break the window, he almost had this look of defeat in his eyes, and he kind of curled his bottom lip, as any parent would know.
A familiar ending to a story involving a young child, but it's leaving people baffled.
He held off 2 full-grown adults with a knife and stole a car. And that's, how do you even know how to start the car and take off?
Law enforcement officials tell me the anger the child exudes was indescribable. He's now getting psychiatric care, and the babysitter does not plan on pressing any charges. Joylyn Bukovac, 44 News.